All right, so we're going to continue talking about bias, and we have one more bias scenario. This is a fairly long one. And by the way, you see the 2004 Form B question 2. This means this came off an AP exam, and so that will show you that we actually cover all the most all of the material that they do in AP. We just don't do quite as fast a pace. So you'll actually have a really good understanding of statistics. So here we go. At a certain university, students who live in the dormitories eat at a common dining hall. Recently, some students have been complaining about the quality of the food served there. The dining hall manager decided to do a survey to estimate the proportion of students living in the dormitories who think that the quality of the food should be improved. One evening, the manager asked the first 100 students entering the dining hall to answer the following question. Please note, it's the first 100 students. So many students believe that the food served in the dining hall needs improvement. Do you think that the quality of food served here needs improvement, even though that would increase the cost of the meal plan? Yes, no, or no opinion. In this explain how bias may have been introduced based on the way this convenience sample was taken. All right? So the first 100 students who eat in the dining hall may have very different opinions than those who come later. It's likely that the food is fresher when the first 100 students arrive, and it's likely that the first 100 students have a more positive attitude about the food, as evidenced by the fact that they are willing to arrive early. It could be like freshmen, first time they go to the cafeteria, they think the food is great. The first 100 are probably hungrier, and food always tastes better when you are really hungry. And the first 100 are actually excited about the food because they're freshmen and they rush to get it to the cafeteria because they really enjoy it. So that would be good answers to part A. For part B, in this setting, explain how bias may have been introduced based on the way the question was worded. Well, what did they say? Many students believe that the food served in the dining hall needs improvement. Do you think the quality of food served here needs improvement, even though that would increase the cost of the meal plan? So I see a couple issues there. Bias introduced by including the phrase, many students believe that the food served in the dining hall needs improvement. This could cause peer pressure. Many students would go along with the norm and say yes, rather than giving their own honest opinion. In other words, you swayed it by saying many students and you don't want to be an outlier. Bias is also introduced by including the phrase, even though that would increase the cost of the meal plan. A cost consideration is included, and students may think the food is awful but are unwilling or unable to pay more for their meals. If you were just concerned about whether or not the food needed to be improved, you would not have brought cost into this question. Now, you might want to discuss cost later, but if it's just to find out whether the food was good or bad, you should never have introduced costs of the food or say that it might increase. And finally, how could we have worded the question differently to avoid bias in the question? How to avoid, and remember, if it's due to a poorly worded questions, that's due to response bias. So getting rid of the response bias, how about we say this? Do you think that the quality of food served here needs improvement? All right, so all I said was, your opinion, does the food served here need improvement? And that's just a simple yes or no. I didn't say that most people liked it or most people didn't like it or that I was going to change the price. I specifically just asked you, what did you think about the food? Or you could say, do you think the quality of food here is good? Either way, something like that would be a neutrally worded question and would be that way you would not have to worry about response bias. So here we have the first 100 students entering. That provides a bias because the first 100 is probably not representative of all the students who have to eat there. And then based on the way it was phrased, we have peer pressure, which is our type of response bias in this case, because we use the word many students, so that wording. And then we included, we're going to raise the price if you change it. That also provides bias, and those are types of response bias. All right, that'll conclude our scenarios.